First one is the pharmacology of growth hormone. So already you have studied in the HAP in the first year. Okay. So growth hormone is a protein hormones. It should be containing around 190 amino acids, but in some books, so they are mentioned as the 191 amino acids. Okay. So molecular weight is around 21,500. In some books are there. In some books they are referred as it should be containing the 22,000s. Okay, you should be the clarify. So the both answers are the correct, or you can go for the standard books, so find out the which one was the correct. So daily output of growth hormone is 0.5 to 1 mg, and the plasma level in children is a 300 nanogram and in adult is a 500 nanogram. If below this level in the blood or in the plasma, the growth of that particular children or adult can be stunted. So growth hormone after release, it will be stay in the blood. So after within 20 minutes it should be the half half of the release of the growth hormone should be the metabolized. So the growth hormone, it is one of the important hormone of the anterior pituitary glands or anterior pituitary hormones. It's play important role in the development and growth of the body. So what are the development and growth of our body is mainly depending upon the growth hormone. And growth hormone is a protein hormone. It means it consists or it is made up of the amino acids. So it should be containing the 191 amino acids. So now the that is the mechanism of action of growth hormone. So dear students, so the growth hormones mainly acts on the receptors, and those receptors are known as the growth hormone receptors. You should remember. So growth hormones, it can act on the growth hormone receptors, so where it can modify the JAK-STAT signaling. So already you have studied in the last year in the pharmacology regarding the receptors, that is JAK-STAT signaling. It is one type of the receptor. So this signaling is helpful for the regulations of the various functions of the body or the metabolic activities in the body, and it is one type of the tyrosine kinase receptors. Okay, so JAK-STAT signaling, it can improve the or enhance the activity of the tyrosine kinase. So already you know in the last year, so tyrosine kinase is a enzyme. So this enzyme can be activated or modulated. So when any ligand, they can bind on the tyrosine receptor or kinase receptor. So here the growth hormone receptor, so where the growth hormones can be bind, and it can improve the JAK-STAT signaling, and due to improvisations or activations or modulations of JAK-STAT signaling, it can enhance the activity of the tyrosine kinase. So it is a kinase is an enzyme. So where the enzyme activities increases, some reactions will be the going on, maybe increases, maybe decreases. So here, so due to increase the tyrosine kinase activity, the transcriptions of target genes is increases or modulated. Then transcriptions of target genes means the genes number, it can be increases. Okay, so the more genes can be formed due to activations of the tyrosine kinase enzyme by a growth hormone binding on the growth receptors. So the gene numbers in the cells can be increases. So as the gene number cells increases, automatically DNA and RNA numbers are increases. Okay, so DNA, RNA, so these are the nucleic acids or nucleotides. So they are play important role in the protein synthesis. So as the DNA, RNA number increases, automatically the protein synthesis is increases. So as the proteins synthesis increases, the growth of the body is also increases. So like that, the growth hormone, it can modulate the genes by acting on the JAK-STAT signaling or activations of JAK-STAT signaling. So due to that, the tyrosine kinase enzyme can increase. So that tyrosine kinase, it can causes the transcriptions or modulations of the or productions of the gene can be increases. So as the gene modulation is increases or transcription increases, automatically the DNA RNA number increases. So where the DNA RNA number is increases, automatically the synthesis of the protein is also increases. And as the protein is more in the body, so those protein utilized by the cell, then the cells, so those are involved in the development of the body. So like that, the growth hormones play important role in the development of the body and regulate the metabolism of the body by acting through the tyrosine kinase enzyme. So this question may be asked in the GPAT. You should be remember. So how the growth hormone can modulate the genes, or how the growth hormones are involved in the growth and metabolism by targeting the following enzymes. So what they can ask in the MCQ, the option should be tyrosine kinase or many other enzymes are there. You should be remember that is the tyrosine kinase is the enzymes. So through which the growth hormone, it can regulate the growth and metabolism of the in the human body. So next we can discuss on the regarding the pharmacological action of growth hormones. Okay, so dear students, so the growth hormones, so mainly involved in the regulations of the carbohydrate metabolisms. So where it can causes the one condition, so that condition is known as the status diabetes mellitus. It means it is a diabetes. So due to over secretions of the growth hormone, the person is suffering from the diabetes mellitus. For example, the tallest person is present in the Pakistan. So its the height should be the more than the 8 feet, I think. So that person is also died due to the diabetes mellitus, because so growth hormones, it is involved in the carbohydrate metabolism. So where it can decrease the utilization of glucose by cell, okay, in the blood or in the peripheral tissue. It can inhibit the utilization or entry of the glucose inside the cells for metabolism. It means directly indirectly it can inhibit the metabolism glucose. So due to that, the glucose can stay in the longer time in the blood, stay longer time in the blood for the longer duration. In other hand, it can enhance the, that is the release of the glucose from the liver by enhancing the glucose. Okay, so it can enhance the gluconeogenesis in the liver. And gluconeogenesis means the formation of the glucose from the non-carbohydrate source. So like that, in the blood the glucose level is also increases. In other side, it can inhibit the utilization. So due to that, the glucose cannot be metabolized, it can stay in the blood. And in another side, in it can act on the liver. So where it can enhance the gluconeogenesis, that is the formation of glucose from the non-carbohydrate source. And as well as it can enhance the breakdown of the glycogen. So glycogen is the stores for the excess of the glucose occurs in the liver or adipose tissues. So this growth hormone acts on the liver, so where it can enhance the breakdown of the glycogen, then counted into a glucose. Once again, the plasma level of glucose is increases. So due to that, the persons can be suffering from the status diabetes. May always the sugar level is the higher than the normal level. So that condition is known as the status diabetes mellitus. If it is not corrected, then the person is suffering from the diabetes mellitus. So this is the pharmacology of the growth hormone regarding on the carbohydrate metabolism. So where it can inhibit the utilization of the glucose, it is the overall action. So due to that, your plasma glucose levels increases if the growth hormone secretion is increases. So then second action, that is the protein metabolism. So here the growth hormone, it will be having the anabolic actions. So in the body, we are having the two action. One is the anabolic action and second one is the catabolic action. So catabolic means that is the breakdown of larger particle into smaller particle. For example, breakdown of protein into smaller amino acids. So that process is known as the catabolic reactions or catabolic process. And anabolic means to utilize the smaller particle then converted into larger particles. For example, utilize the more amino acids 3, 4, 5, 6 and involved in the formations of the new protein, so that the smaller particle can convert into a complex particle, and such reactions are known as the anabolic reaction. So here the growth hormones, it will be having the anabolic action. It means it is involved in the build-up of the larger molecule from utilizations of the smaller particles. And regarding it is comes under the pharmacology of protein metabolism means, so here the growth hormone, it can enhance the formation of the proteins. So mechanism is, so growth hormones mainly enhance the utilizations of amino acids or transports of amino acid into the cells. It can regulate or it can enhance the transports of amino acids so inside the cell. So due to that, the more amino acids is available for the cell, then the cell it can utilize the amino acids then involved in the formations of the protein. So it is the one of the mechanism of the growth hormone. It can enhance the formations of protein by enhancing the transport of amino acid inside the cell. So in another mechanism, the growth hormone is also decreases the nitrogen excretion. Okay, so due to decrease the nitrogen excretion, it can causes the one condition. So that condition is known as the positive nitrogen balance. Okay, that is condition is known as positive nitrogen balance. It indicates something or some hormones, they inhibit the excretions of nitrogen. So due to inhibitions of excretions of nitrogen, the plasma concentrations of nitrogen is increases. So this condition is known as the positive nitrogen balance. And positive nitrogen balance is essential for the synthesis of the protein, because so between two amino acids one bond is formed, so that the formation of this bond is mainly depending upon the nitrogens. If lack of nitrogen, still you having the rich of amino acid, still your body is suffering from the deficiency of the proteins. अगर आपके बॉडी में बहुत अमीनो एसिड्स है, आपके फूड में भी बहुत अमीनो एसिड्स है, यू आर टेकन फ्रॉम द फूड, but you are suffering from the lack of nitrogen in your plasma, that condition is known as the negative nitrogen balance. On that time also your growth can be stunted due to lack of the formations of the proteins. It means the protein formation is also depending upon the availability of the nitrogen in the plasma. So this nitrogen is required for the formations of the bond between the amino acids. It is involved in the formations of the protein. So here the growth hormone, it can causes the positive nitrogen balance by inhibiting the excretions of the nitrogen. So that nitrogen is helpful for the cell, the formations of the protein. So this is the second mechanism of the growth hormones to show the anabolic action on the growth hormones. And third mechanism involved in the protein synthesis by the growth hormone, it can enhance the transcriptions of DNA and RNA. That is, it can enhance the transcription of DNA and RNA. It means it can increases the formation of DNA and RNA. Already you are learned in the mechanism of growth hormone. So where it can enhance the tyrosine kinase. So due to that, the DNA number and RNA number is increases. So same phenomena or that mechanism is helpful for to increase the DNA and RNA. So as the DNA RNA number is increases in our cell, automatically the protein synthesis can be increased. So due to that, the growth hormone it can shows the anabolic action by the following three mechanisms. So first mechanism, it can enhance the utilizations of the amino acid by cell, that is it can enhance the transport of amino acid inside the cell. And second, it can causes the positive nitrogen balance. And the third mechanism is a it can increases the transcription of DNA and RNA. So these three mechanism is helpful for the growth hormone to show the anabolic actions are involved in the synthesis of the proteins. The next pharmacological action, that is regarding the beta, that is sorry, fat metabolisms. So here the growth hormone it can enhance the beta oxidations. So due to beta oxidation, the ATP is produced. You already learned in the biochemistry, by beta oxidation cycle it can produce the around 32 ATP. So these ATP or these energy is helpful for the synthesis of the protein by a growth hormones, because the protein synthesis is the one reaction or biological reaction, it can require the energy in the form of the ATP. So that ATP is also supplied by the growth hormone by involving in the fat metabolism or by enhancing the beta oxidation. So due to enhancing the beta oxidation, the more ATP is produced. So that ATP is helpful for the synthesis of the proteins. So this is the third pharmacological actions of the growth hormone. Then fourth one is the growth hormones also involved in the regulations of the mineral metabolism. So this growth hormone it mainly enhance the absorptions of the calcium from the intestine, and calcium is a cofactor for various reaction that can occur in the body. You are already studied in the, that is the biochemistry. So calcium is the cofactor for glycolysis, cofactor for the beta oxidation, cofactor for the HMG CoA reductase enzyme, or many others are. So that calcium is number can be increases by growth hormone by enhancing its absorptions from the intestine. So due to that, as the calcium number is increases, the metabolic reactions in the body is also increases. So as the metabolic activity increases, then the growth of the body is also increases. In other side, the growth hormone decrease the excretions of the sodium, then potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, and as well as the chloride. It means it is also enhance the accumulations of the other electrolytes by inhibiting their excretions from the kidney. And due to accumulations of these electrolytes, once again the body mass or the tissue mass can be increases. So that is responsible for to shows the growth of the body by a growth hormones. It is involved in the regulations of the mineral metabolisms. So next pharmacological action, so the that is the acts on the bone. So the growth hormone it can involved in the longitudinal growth of the bone, that is it can enhance the height of the bone by stimulating the epiphyseal cartilage. So epiphyseal cartilage is a one type of cartilage. It is present in the, that is either end of the long bone or any bones. So this cartilage it is helpful for the bone for absorptions of the calcium or absorptions of the other minerals like phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, then potassium, then chloride. So these all minerals is required for the development of the bone. So those minerals is absorbed from the blood. That is the work of the epiphyseal cartilage. So here the growth hormone it can enhance the activity of the epiphyseal cartilage. Then this cartilage is involved in the depositions of calcium on the bone, as well as deposition of the sodium, potassium, then as well as phosphorus on the and chloride on the bone. So due to that, the height and the development of the bone can be increases. Then the bone height is increases, automatically the height of the person is also increases. The persons become the more strong by influence of the growth hormone, because it can stimulate the epiphyseal cardiac. So like that, the growth hormone, it can involved in the regulations and development of the body, and as well as it can enhance the growth of the body by involving the carbohydrate metabolism, protein metabolism, then fat metabolism, as well as mineral metabolism, and even it can involved in the stimulations of the epiphyseal cartilage. Okay, so it is clear. Shall I add audible? मैं audible हूँ? Anyone? ओके, आपका क्लियर हो गया बेटा आपका फंडा? ओके, कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं? देखो, फी ओके, फीमेल में भी ग्रोथ हार्मोन रिलीज होता है, ओके, और मेल में भी ग्रोथ हार्मोन रिलीज होता है, लेकिन फीमेल का हाइट ऑटोमेटिकली कम होता है, ओके, वही मेल का हाइट बढ़ता है। ये क्वेश्चन आपके माइंड में आ सकता है, because both male and female, they contain the bone and bone containing the epiphyseal cartilage, but the female height can be restricted but male height can be increased. That is the role of the estrogen. So this estrogen is more secreted in the female as compared to male. Male में भी estrogen रहता है, no doubt, but it is less quantity, minute quantity, but female having the rich of the estrogen. So after maturation in the female, the estrogen level is increases, and this estrogen, it cause the pause of the epiphyseal cartilage. epiphyseal cartilage को pause करता, so due to pause their height can be stopped, the growth of the height can be stopped after the menstrual cycle or after the maturation, but still in the male the height can be increases after the certain age around 18 या 22 years. So like that, the growth hormones are involved in the development of the body. So next we can discuss about the physiological role of the growth hormones. So growth hormones, it is mainly involved in the retentions of the calcium. So as the calcium retention in the blood, so that can utilized by the bones. So then the bones can be strengthened. So that condition is known as the mineralizations of the bones. So the growth hormones is also involved in the mineralizations of the bone or the development of the bone. And second physiological role, that is the growth hormone, it can enhance the mass of the muscles, so through which it can causes the hypertrophy. It means it can causes the accumulations of the sodium in the tissue. So as the sodium is accumulated, so where the fluid is also accumulated. So as the fluid is accumulated due to accumulations of sodium by a growth from the tissue, automatically the size of the tissue can be increases. So that condition is known as the hypertrophy. So due to hypertrophy, the mass of the muscles can be increases. So that condition is known as the muscular hypertrophy. So that can regulated by the growth hormone by enhancing the accumulations of the fluid through a accumulations of sodium or by inhibiting the excretions of the sodium. Okay, so then third physiological rule, the growth hormone, it can promote the lipolysis, that is the breakdown of the lipid into fatty acids or smaller lipids. In another side, same growth hormone, it can inhibit the synthesis of the lipid. So that process is known as the lipogenesis. ये लिपिड का सिंथेसिस को ब्लॉक करता है, but it can enhance the breakdown of the lipolysis, that is known as the beta oxidation. So due to that, it can produce the more ATP. So that ATP is helpful for the synthesis of the proteins. Then another form, that is pathological condition, that is a physiological condition, that is it can increases the protein synthesis because of by causing the mainly positive nitrogen balance and the transcriptions of the DNA and RNA, as well as it can enhance the utilizations of the amino acids by a cell. Then other, that is it also stimulate the growth of the internal organ excluding the brain. Okay, the growth hormone, it is involved in the development of the and growth of the all the organ except brain. It is do not involved in the development, that is the development and growth of the brain. Okay, so growth hormones is also play important role in the regulations of the homeostasis, that is balancing of the internal environment regarding the electrolytes and regarding the fluid, because it enhances the absorption of calcium and inhibit the excretions of the other minerals. So due to that, it's play important role in the regulations of the homeostasis. So growth hormones is also reduce the uptake of glucose by liver. So due to that, it can inhibit the formations of the glycogens. So as the formations of glycogen decreases, automatically the plasma concentrations of the sugar is increases. So that can causes the diabetes mellitus. Simply, so one exercise for you, आप देख सकते हैं जिन जिनका हाइट ज़्यादा है, so that person is suffering from the diabetes mellitus due to so this phenomena or this mechanism, because the growth hormone inhibit the utilizations of the glucose by a liver cell or other cells. So due to that, the plasma concentrations of glucose increases, then the person is suffering from the diabetes mellitus. So on another side, the growth hormones, it can promote the gluconeogenesis in the liver, that is the formations of the glucose from the amino acids or from the fatty acids. So that process is known as the gluconeogenesis. So that process is also accelerate or increased by the growth hormone. So due to that also the plasma concentration of glucose is increases. So that condition is known as the diabetes mellitus. So another, so it can also contribute the maintenance the functions of the pancreatic islets. That is the pancreatic islets, it is involved in the secretions of the insulin or involved the secretions of the, that is glycogens. So here the as the sugar level is increases, so that sugar, that glucose is reaches to the beta cells. It can got the signal due to accumulations of glucose. It can occurs the depolarization. So in the beta cells of the, that is pancreatic islets, and automatically the beta cells is involved in the secretions of the insulin. So due to that, directly indirectly the growth hormones, it is involved in the regulation the functions of the pancreatic islets or the functions of the pancreatic glands. So growth hormones, it also stimulate the immune system. It can enhance the immunity of the human beings by accelerating the formations of the cytokines or protein containing immune components. Then it also increases the deadenations of T4 to T3, and T3 is required for the regulations of the various functions of the bodies. So next, that is the adverse effect of excess secretions of the growth hormones. So the growth hormones mainly involved in the to cause of the myopathy, that is to decrease the functions of the muscles, because the growth hormone, it can causes the accumulations of the fluid in the muscle. So that condition is known as the hypertrophy. So as the hypertrophy is increases in the muscle cell, automatically the normal rhythm of the muscle cells or muscles functions can be decreases. So that condition is known as the myopathy. It is the one of the ADR or side effects of the excess secretions of the growth hormones, and it is also causes the accumulations of the fluid in the muscles or extremities, or in the fingers or many other organs. So due to that, the organ structures can be deformities. So that condition is known as the acromegaly, or the organ functions can be decreases due to over secretions of the growth hormones. And the growth hormones is also causes the diabetes mellitus by enhancing the sugar level in the blood or in the plasma. Then also another area, it can causes the cardiomyopathy because of, once again, hypertrophy of the cardiac muscles. So due to hypertrophy of the cardiac muscle, so normal rhythm regarding the generations of action potential by cardiac muscles or the contractions of the cardiac muscle, so that can be decreases due to increase the size of the muscle cells or a swelling of the muscle cells. So due to that, the cardiac functions can be decreases. So that condition is known as the cardiomyopathy. It is another important area of the excessive secretions of the growth hormones. And due to cardiomyopathy, the heart can be blocked or heart can be fail. So that condition is known as the congestive heart failure. So it is also related, it can abnormal causes the leukemia by enhancing the formations of the WBC, that is the immune components. So these are immune components because the growth hormone, it can enhance the or regulate the immunity by enhancing the synthesis of the immune component. If it is abnormal, then it can cause the one conditions of cancer. So that is known as the leukemia. So it means the excessive secretion or consumptions of the growth hormone in the form of the injection, then maybe the person should be suffering from the leukemia or cancer. So these are the various areas so that can cause by the growth hormone due to excess secretions of the growth hormones. So next, the other antipituitary hormones like a thyroid stimulating hormone, that is TSH. It is secreted from the thyrotropes, and thyrotropes are the one of the special cells. So they are present in the anterior pituitary gland. It can secrete the thyrotropes or thyrotropin. So that is known as the TSH. So this TSH is enter into the thyroid gland. It can enhance the functions of the follicular cell that involved in the synthesis of the T3 and T4. This is the physiological role of the thyroid stimulating hormone. So next one is the, or that is adenocorticotropin hormones, are also known as the corticotropin or ACTH or ACTH 1 to 24. So this ACTH, it is synthesized from the corticotrope cells from the anterior gland. Then the ACTH is enter in the adrenal gland. Then the adrenal gland is involved in the formations of the glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, or adrenaline, noradrenaline, or many other adrenal hormones. So that adrenal hormone secretion is mainly regulated by the ACTH, and ACTH is also regulate the, that is the concentrations of the hydrogen ion in the brains. So these are the important two rule of the adenocorticotropins. Then third hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH. So FSH, it is also antipituitary hormones secreted from the gonadotrope cells. So this FSH in the female, it can regulate the gametogenesis, that is the formations of the ovum or the formations of the egg. In the same FSH, any problem? Same FSH in the male, it is involved in the regulations of the spermatogenesis. So these are the important two functions of the follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH. In female, it can regulate the gametogenesis, and in the male, it can regulate the formations of the sperm. So that process is known as the spermatogenesis. Then third hormone of antipituitary, that is luteinizing hormone. So this luteinizing hormone, it is also secreted from the gonadotropes along with the FSH. It is involved in the regulations of the ovulation in female, that is release of the ovum during the menstrual cycle, that is the functions of the luteinizing hormone or physiological role of the luteinizing hormone, and as well as it can involve in the male, it can involve in the productions or accelerate or increases the productions of the testosterone in the male. So like that, FSS, LSS, so they are involved in the regulations of gametogenesis, spermatogenesis, ovulation, productions of estrogen, progesterone, as well as the testosterone. So these are the physiological role of the luteinizing hormone and as well as the FSH. And last one, that is the prolactin. So these prolactin, it mainly secreted from the lactotropes of the cells. Those are present in the anterior pituitary gland. So those lactotropes, so these are secretes the prolactin. So these prolactins enter towards the mammary glands. So it is involved in the regulations of the lactation. That is the productions and ejaculations of the milk from the mammary gland. So that is the work of the prolactin. And prolactin is a also it is one of the important hormones of the anterior pituitary glands.